I personally believe he does not have the time to come up with enough cases to overturn the states he would need.
Everyone has projected that Biden will win. States are still counting. Trump, though, hasn't conceded. He's refused to concede, and he's threatening legal action. Does that carry any weight? Like, can he actually do anything?
His legal claims have been so vague and broad that no one has seen like a thread of an actual case that he could put forth that would change anything. So at this point, unless he comes out with something that he's been hiding from all of us that we don't know about, I don't think there's really any, significant legal weight behind what he's saying.
Trump is lame duck president now for 2 months. But if he's not going to make this easy, what kind of fallout or unrest could we see?
The biggest thing that he can do, in my opinion, is just slow things down. It just sets up the new administration for a bit of failure in the beginning. It's going to make it very difficult for them to transition, especially with COVID going on. I think the ideal right now would be to create a joint transition task force, which is what they did in 2008 with the economic crisis.
Are we going to ever hear from him again?
I would count on it. I think that he is not the type of person to do anything silently, ever. I don't know that he will run again, but I expect his son to run sometime in the near future, just from the trends that I'm seeing. But I think his biggest terms of legacy is his nominations and his Supreme Court nominations, because obviously those are for life. And with the people that he nominated having the majority, they have a lot of control over what happens legally in our country.
I don't think the Senate's been called yet.
It's going to be a bit, because they have 2 runoff races that are decisive.
The runoff elections are in Georgia. The state laws there say that the Senate candidates have to get a majority of the votes in order to win. There are 2 seats up for grabs in Georgia, and none of the candidates broke 50%. So this means basically there will be a rematch on January 5th. If Republicans keep control of the Senate, it'll be an uphill battle for Biden and the House to get things done.
Yeah, I mean, anything lasting, because they control judicial nominations and the legislative agenda. It's not to say that Biden can't get his policies through. He just is going to have to gear them in a significantly more bipartisan way in order to get any support from the Senate. And I think that's definitely been in his message so far, his message about unifying. But I think that should the Republicans regain control or maintain control of the Senate, that will have to be even more at the forefront of his policy making and making sure that, he can draw support from both sides in order to get anything passed. And I think somewhat it's not entirely his fault, the divisiveness towards him. I think a lot of that comes from just the deep partisan divide that has only been deepened the past 4 years. And obviously a lot of that falls on him, but some of it falls also on the people who were elected to the House and the Senate, and just the American people being willing to take a step back and kind of drop party lines and just decide that they need to unify over something.
Do you think that can happen?
I think that we can make strides towards it happening. So I think that Biden's role over the next 4 years in terms of attacking this problem of partisanship should be to lessen the divide. I don't think he's going to by any means be able to knock it down.
The more extreme Democrats, is it going to be easier for them to find common ground with him than the more moderate Republicans even?
I genuinely think that he might have more sway with the moderate Republican side than the far left. I think a lot of people were surprised in the general election with how much compromising those aggressively left people did. But I think that the unifying force there was this anti-Trump sentiment. So with that taken out of the picture, I do think that there will be more of a push back towards the left and saying well, we're not fighting against Trump anymore, so now we're fighting against Biden to get what we want. And I think that's very much a reckoning for both political parties, in that we cannot continue the cycle every 4 years of the lesser of 2 evils. It's not going to work. People can't just vote against someone. They need to have a candidate that they can vote for. And I think that needs to be a point for both parties moving forward when they nominate their next presidential nominee.
Is it fair to say that one of the things that would help in that would be someone younger?
I think that is the way forward. Every 4 years, more and more young people are turning 18 and getting involved in politics and caring about it. And it's going to get to the point where that they're going to be the majority. I think they need someone that is their age, not only to unify them, but also just to bring that perspective. Having this upper bracket age group of elected officials is not very representative of our country.
Do you think we could see very soon a woman president? Or
I absolutely do. I think that Hillary Clinton showed that you're starting from a step back as a woman in terms of winning over the opinion of people. I don't think it's necessarily policy based. It's that internalized misogyny that a lot of people have. But I think that if it's the right person, now is the time. And, Kamala definitely shattered that glass ceiling. And of course, there's one above it. But I think that trend ignited a fire in a lot of women who are now going to become active in politics.
So what can we take away as a lesson from this? Because this has been so crazy, especially as young people, like you said, because, we will become the majority. Looking to the future, what can we learn from this?
I think number one definitely is the idea of finding someone to nominate and vote for and campaign for that you genuinely support and who pushes the view of America that you want, rather than that fighting against somebody.
For example, let's just say far left. A lot of people that are supporters of far left candidates, when they have to go with someone like Biden, I mean, do they just kind of have to settle with that?
In this election, I think we were all aware that they did, because, it was never going to be a landslide beat to Trump. They knew that they needed every vote they could get. And I think that, unfortunately, that rallying against mentality worked for them in this scenario, because those people that normally would never have supported Biden supported him in the name of anti-Trump. And I think that's an even deeper issue is that the right way to move forward? Because that does lead to this mindset of, well, this is my candidate, but they lost, so I guess I'll go with whoever my party nominated. So it's difficult. And I think in order to change that mindset would require an entire reckoning of our political system and people really making changes to more than just the people in charge, but the way that it's done. I don't really see that happening in the near future. It sounds like a broken record. I feel like every news outlet is saying this, but partisanship is so toxic to this country, and it can't continue deepening the way that it is without things only getting worse. And I think it's hard for young people because a lot of us are so passionate about politics, and it's so much now centered around human rights and things that we don't see as opinions, but facts. But I think that regardless of whether or not you respect the other, opponent's opinion, you're going to get more done by taking a step back and treating it as a conversation, as a dialogue, rather than a fight. So, of course, it's going to continue to be emotional and really, really important. But I think that we need to work towards a shallower depth of partisanship in this country in order to have real, meaningful systemic change.